So we're going to begin with Representative Huot, who is the incumbent in this race representing the DFL. Representative Huot, last biennium, the state budget was $52 billion. It was increased to over $71 billion for the 24-25 legislation biennium. That's a 40% increase in spending. The legislature used $17 billion surplus plus added money to it. What legislation got passed?
Really?
We're going to go easy. Well, what new legislation got passed? What's the most important piece of that legislation and why?
So thank you for that question, Scott. It's a really broad question. Remember that the $71 billion after the 2-year period resets back to 52. It's really important that everybody understand that that $17 billion was one-time money. That money was because of COVID. Let's call it what it was. A lot of it came in from the federal government. Some is because Minnesota is a really good state and pays its bills. That's why we had the money. Many of you in this room did benefit from that $17 billion. Apple Valley alone got more money for their public safety. I don't want to say police only because it was used for public safety. The same with Rosemount, the same with, I also represent Egan, by the way.
Okay.
But so basically, that money was put out to the community. We gave back money where we could to citizens that got a rebate, but most of it was invested in schools, taking care of that gap that we had during COVID. It was a Minnesota investment, and that's the kind of legislation that got passed with the $17 billion. This will reset when the 2-year, there's a cliff, and that's why it's called a structural imbalance in the budget, because we did not budget beyond the 2 years. This was a windfall for the state. We used it, or else if we didn't use it, much of it had to go back to Washington. Both sides would have spent this money regardless. It's just a matter of what priorities. We prioritize seniors and kids.
Thank you. Angeline Anderson, the Minnesota Office of Management and Budget reports shows that the next biennium, our revenue that we expect is going to be $64 billion. However, our spending for the next biennium is $66 billion, which means we're tapping into the reserves. We're sending you to St. Paul. How do you propose we deal with that $2 billion shortfall?
Well, thank you for that question. I believe that we need to look at our current budgets, look where the spending is happening. There has been a lot of fraud that has happened over the past couple of years, so I think reining in on spending, ideally, I would like to see taxes lowered, and I don't want to see cuts to essential services. I still support that, so I think that there's other areas where we've overspent, and other areas where I think we can cut back so that we can get more money back into people's pockets instead of just spending it frivolously.
Give me some examples of overspending.
There's been a lot of fraud, and then I believe that, they've overspent the $18 billion surplus that we had. To go into specifics of it, they've raised taxes, they've spent it in areas of growing government, also areas of remodeling buildings that were extremely expensive. We have a lot of vacant buildings as well, so I think we're just spending money that we could reevaluate, look at empty government buildings from people that might be working from home now, and those are some areas I believe that can be reined in.
Great. Angeline, the individual and corporate tax rates in Minnesota have hit the highest level of the state in state's history. People talk about paying their fair share. Are people paying their fair share, and who decides what is fair?
Well, I do think the taxing has gotten a bit out of hand, and we need to get accountability and balance back in Minnesota. As a small business owner myself, I've grown up in a family that is also small business owners. We've had a telecommunications business since the early 50s, and a lot of businesses are leaving because of where our taxes are at and going to surrounding states that have tax breaks that are a better business environment for them. So I think that we need to talk to the local community, talk to the local small business owners to see how that's directly impacting them, and to come up with a better solution than just a one-size-fits-all blanket statement of raising these taxes.
Representative Huot.
Nope, I'm waiting for you to ask that same question.
Oh, you want the easy ones? No. Tell us about some of the bills that you've authored, and tell us some of the bills that have passed, and tell us about some of the ones that haven't passed that you've authored that you should have passed.
So do I get longer time for this?
Yep.
All right. So the bills I authored, one of my, and I'm not calling it legacy because these are the bills that you tell me you want me to author. I don't, and when he said I am a member of the DFL, I don't represent the DFL. I represent you. Make sure you get that straight. The DFL is way down on my list. The people I represent are the 40,000 that live in this district. Yes, we have spirited debates together. We do things together, but the reason I did such a good job there is because you appointed me. One of the things we're working on right now, which is probably a landmark legislative bill for me, is the Department of EMS Services that, as my opponent said, we're growing government. We didn't grow government. We moved the money to another department and made us more accountable. That's what I get mad when people say we're not accountable. This agency, under Republican legislation, never had an oversight hearing. Never. In fact, the legislator that was assigned to this group never went to the meetings. When we found this, we put an auditor in there. We immediately changed the department. We got rid of the department because there was some questions here. And then we developed, this year, legislation passed that basically gave it 24 million to reset, because we have response times, a problem all around the state. And we also had to basically start a new division that reports directly to the governor. The governor now is responsible to make sure that when you call 911, you're going to get an ambulance if you need one. We have a lot of work to do in this area. That's just one piece. Most of my bills, I think our count is like 970 bills that I've introduced. Most of my bills, 41% in these times, have been signed on by Republicans. I am known as the most moderate person in the House right now. If you look at my endorsements, you'll believe that's why I got them. Thank you.
Now, the bill that you're talking about, the EMS bill, got the information in front of the governor. What has it done for the state?
What is the bill doing for the state?
Yeah.
Thank you. That's a great question. What it'll do basically is we'll start to be digging in. Even Apple Valley is going to benefit from this bill. Apple Valley has what we call an overlap. Elf Ambulance is actually in the PSA of the old Divine Redeemer. Things like that were delayed on cleaning up. We want to make sure that Apple Valley has their license and can own their license, things like that. But also we had companies that were not being accountable. 90-minute responses in Cook, Minnesota? That's unacceptable. This is my background, so I'm real passionate about it. That is totally unacceptable, and those are things that are going to be worked on this next year. The office goes into play January 1st. We had to clean this up. I don't want to go in because the people that do the work, those medics and EMTs on the street, work hard, but we're losing them because they're not being taken care of right. So that's what this bill will do. We'll focus on recruitment and retention, building the bench, making sure, again, when you call an ambulance, you're going to get one with a well-trained person.
Thank you. Representative Huot, two pieces of legislation passed recently, the Earned Sick and Safe Time Bill and the Paid Leave Act. They're having a direct impact on small businesses in the state. The cost of the Paid Leave Act has not yet been determined and will be imposed on businesses. Should there be better legislation defining the cost before we author and impose this on employers?
This is where my moderate point is going to come out. And people in this room and I have had robust discussions about this issue, along with the Minnesota Chamber, who endorsed me through their PAC. Yes, we need to look at the cost to employers to see what we're looking at. I think there's things on these two bills that we're going to probably have to look at tweaking in the future. They're good bills, don't get me wrong. And remember who wants them. It's not the employer. I mean, the employers want to take care of their employees and stuff like that. But the truth is, this is what we're hearing at the doors. I can't take time off because I'm not going to get paid. I can't go out and work with my mother because I might lose my job. I don't think there's employers in Apple Valley, Rosemount, or Eagan that do that, but you have to think you're the good ones. We have bad ones, and we need to work on this and work together. My door is always open. As your chamber president, as the chamber here came, in the Minnesota chamber, in the Dakota County chamber, this could use some tweaking, and I do differ from some members of my caucus on this, but I think we can get there together.
Great. Angeline, you're running for House District 56A. What would be the first bill that you would propose? 56B, I'm sorry. It is 56B. What would be the first bill that you would propose and why?
Thank you. Yes, 56B. The first bill I would propose is to eliminate the Social Security tax. That's something I've heard a lot at the doors, especially with the way that our economy is right now. It's been something that's been talked about, something that's been promised over the past few years, but we haven't actually seen full action doing that. So that would be one of the first bills I would like to pass, to put more money back in people's pockets so they don't have to be concerned about retirement or any of that.
What would be second?
Second, I would like to reduce the taxes for for small businesses. I know you just mentioned the family medical leave and also the sick safe time, and I just think that, like Representative Huot said, we need to revisit that, maybe look a little bit more at the language that was involved in that to come up with a better solution for small business owners. It's something that I think works well for large corporations, they can handle it, but when I've talked to people at the doors, to the small business owners, the people that live in my district, they're concerned about it. They're trying to figure out how they can afford that, how they're going to be able to continue to afford having as many employees as they have in order to account for those regulations. So I would like to revisit that bill.
Great, thank you. Just so you know, make sure that you got water on your tables there. We've got our nice Halloween water there for you, so it didn't kind of, sorry. I thought that was kind of cute. Angeline, we have a DFL trifecta going on right now. What skills do you possess that make you believe you'll be successful in working with the House Democrats in order to get bills passed?
So I think I bring a new, fresh perspective. I'm definitely younger, but I think that I've had a lot of experience. I grew up in the district, attended Rosemount High School, went on to Bethel University, and then moved to Los Angeles, California, for about 10 years and had a career in the entertainment industry with, I own my own film production business and I'm an actress as well. So I think being able to work with people that have diversified opinions, I've already learned that firsthand living in Hollywood and working with that. So I think I work really well across the table and can understand things. And I've even noticed that at the doors. I've had people that have challenged me. And my biggest thing is listening and being an ear and being a true voice for people and not trying to silence people. So I like to listen to the tough questions and go do my research and come back to them with an answer. And so I think being able to listen, truly receive, and to be willing to do what is best for the community is probably one of my strengths. So.
Great. Representative Huot, last year there was a one-time rebate of $260 returned to the residents of Minnesota. That totaled $3 billion. Is there a good reason we are increasing spending and we did not return more money back to the taxpayers?
I guess I'm lost because I don't know where you're getting the increased spending other than the surplus, which is one-time money.
Yeah.
So I guess I need some fact checks on that.
Yeah.
But
Carl? No, okay. Go ahead.
Guy didn't work for you there. Anyways, so returning money to the taxpayers isn't as easy as they say it. Like the Social Security deal, we upped that to $75,000. We need to do better, and it's $100 or $100 for a married couple. But there's a lot of complicated issues with that. I didn't promise it last time because I knew that was complicated, but hopefully we can work towards, because we don't want to tax our seniors. That's not what we want to do here. But as far as the rebates were complicated because some of this money was federal money. If we were going to return it to our people, Washington wanted it back first. So we needed to find places to invest this, and that's what we did. In our police, in our local communities, in our schools. That's where we put the money. and increased spending. So when people talk about our taxation, the only two places that got taxed were millionaires that are making income of $1 million. We increased their taxes by 1%. The other people that got taxed were those companies that were hiding money offshore. If there's any other things there, I would like to know about them, because I was guaranteed that no one else got more taxes added to their line, wherever it is.
Is there a reason why we used a Montana company to send these checks out to everybody? Is there nobody in the state that can write out checks?
I don't have my phone, but I'd call the governor right now and ask that question. So
I think
I'm
he's
sorry.
busy right now. Angeline, are our streets safe? And what can be done about that?
I think looking specifically at our district, we have a great police force that are doing the best that they can with the resources and funding that they've been given. But I do think as our cities continue to grow, I know especially in Rosemont, we've seen a ton of growth, and we need more police officers in order to continue to keep our community safe. So that is one of the strong points that I'm fighting for, making sure they have the resources, also the training. The numbers are down right now for how many people want to become a police officer. So I think if we can encourage more opportunity, people are aware of the programs that they can be involved in, I think that will help to keep our communities safe.
Thank you. Representative Huot, you've been in the legislature since 2018. What have you done to reduce crime in our communities?
Thanks. I was waiting for this question. You know this. So thank you for saying that. We are getting more police officers through a bill that I did last year. It's similar to what we call the LELO program. It gives cities the right to hire somebody, bring on somebody with more, like with a 4 or 2-year degree, and send them off to school, that they don't have to do all the law enforcement training. They can do just what's needed for law enforcement. Rosemont alone, and I haven't checked with Tom, and I should do this, if they took advantage of it, Rosemont's going to have 2 new officers, like they need, soon. And the thing I get mad about is when certain politicians build this big thing about why crime is going crazy. You know what we did? We went into the schools and took care of truancy. We went and talked to people and made sure that we were getting those kids back in school. We also, our county attorney is one of the best county attorneys in the state. If you come down to Dakota County, you commit a crime, our Apple Valley, Rosemont, Eagan police officers, you're going to get arrested, you're going to go to jail. Up in Minneapolis, we're trying to work on that. We got a great chief up there. Crime is changing, and we have made legislative, historic things to make that happen. It wasn't so much earlier. We get that. But I think you're going to see more and more changes as this $300 million we put out there is going to make us more safe. And I really feel that stop going after the cops, because they're making it safe. It's just what's above them sometimes that don't.
Angeline, what's your #1 priority for Minnesota?
My #1 priority is revitalizing the economy. So as I've said in some of my answers, is putting more money back in the pockets of the community and the people that live here. I think that our spending has gotten out of hand. Like, every family has to have a budget. And I think our government budget has gone overspending, as we know, as we've seen through this last session. I just think that needs to turn around. I want to support small business. I've received a couple endorsements because of that and my stance on that, which I'm excited about. And also, I want to see our communities thrive. I want to see business stay here in Minnesota, not leave to South Dakota, Iowa, or Wisconsin, where they have better tax breaks. But I want to give everyone the opportunity that they need to thrive here.
Diversity is a big issue in our community. The city of Minneapolis just hired 2 non-citizens to represent the police force. What is your feeling on that?
A little conflicting, I'll be honest. In further research of that, it looks like they're going through the legal process. So I don't want to comment too much on that without having all the facts. It is a little concerning having, non-citizens right now policing citizens. I think that is something that we should be a little bit concerned about. But again, I'm not opposed to people going through the right process to be here in Minnesota to become a citizen. And so I do think we need to have the opportunity for that, but just making sure they're doing the right process with it.
Thank you. Right now, we're going to ask each other a non-personal question, and we're going to start with you, Angeline.
Oh, you want to?
She already made a comment about old age, so.
I did not say that. Not directly. That is not what I meant. But all right, Representative Huot, the question I have for you: in the past session, when there was the largest surplus in state history, why did you vote to raise taxes by $10 billion on hardworking Minnesotan families? That's it.
All right, and I did raise taxes on those that were making more than $1 million in income a year. Because you, the middle class, because I don't think there's too many millionaires in this room, at least the statistics don't tell me that, are paying more than their fair share. Millionaires are not in Minnesota. They have ways to hide it. Again, they had to educate me on this. I had to go sit in classes to figure out why are we doing this. They should pay their fair share. And that's why we did what we did. And it was only 1%. But it raised a lot of money, as you can see. The other part was the corporations that were offshoring their money to hide it from taxation. This is money that you pay. You wonder why your property taxes are going up? Because these companies are taking the money out of Minnesota, so you have to pay for all the schools. You have to pay for all the public safety. They get our educated kids. People want to come here. What she's saying about businesses, not true. Basically, people want to have their businesses because we have a highly educated workforce. They should pay for it with us. It's really one of those things that I really had to get educated on. I feel very comfortable with stating those two things. That's why taxes were raised. They weren't raised on you. I hope they weren't raised on you making $1 million. So anyways, that's kind of where we're at.
Representative Huot, your turn for a question.
Ms. Anderson, this is one thing that we did do, a bill that I actually helped sponsor. In Minnesota, we know that the movie industry brought a lot of money to Minnesota at one time. Grumpy Old Men, you could probably list them, I can't. We made, in our last session, part of this money was to basically give a $25 million yearly tax credit to the film industry because we know if they come in, it creates commerce, big commerce. We're still benefiting from Grumpy Old Men. Everybody goes down there to find these guys. Tell me, with your background, what that means to your industry. Tell me how you would take advantage. I don't know if your business is in California or here, but tell me what that means. Would you relocate it to here? And secondly, tell me what you think about business tax credits like that, because that's something I'd like to hear your opinion on.
Thank you for that question. Actually, I am a member of SAG-AFTRA, the acting union, and so I know that was a big thing that as the union, they were fighting for that to bring business back to Minnesota. So for me, and contradictory to what some Republicans may say, I am in favor of it. Anytime you can bring business back to the state, I think that's a good thing. I think for the acting industry, it was a thriving place. A lot of stuff was filmed here in Minnesota years ago, and then that got taken away, and then productions went elsewhere. A lot of them went to Canada. So anytime that we can bring business back to the U.S., back to the States, I'm in support of. So I actually appreciate that action that happened. And although others might not agree with me on that, coming from an entertainment background and being an actress myself, I do think it will bring a lot of new opportunities and hopefully more business here. And hopefully we'll have people realize how great this state is. Because I went to a film festival up in Duluth when they were initially fighting for that and bringing companies here, and it sounds like a lot want to bring production here, which I think that is a good thing for Minnesota. So that's my answer. I think tax credits, it depends on the industry, depends on the amount, and again, my biggest thing is we can't do blanket statements for things. So I think some tax credits are okay, and I am in favor of them, but I think it needs to be determined per industry. Thanks.
Now, based on the coin toss, we're going to have Angeline Anderson start out with your closing statement. Take a minute and a half. Tell us why we should vote for you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me here today and allowing me to be up here and answer questions. As I've gone door to door with so many people, I've heard the stories of people who want parents that have children to have a brighter future, small businesses looking to grow and invest here in their dreams, and individuals who just want to feel safe and secure in their communities that they love. And these stories remind me why I'm running, that At the end of the day, it's not about politics. It's about people. It's about being a voice for the people. And so protecting the values that we hold dear to our future. So I'm committed to working tirelessly for everyone to make neighborhoods safer, our economy stronger, and for schools to be places where children can thrive. So I'm not just asking for your vote, I'm asking for your trust, because I believe together we can make a better Minnesota where everyone can thrive. Thank you.
Representative Huot?
First of all, I want to thank you for what has totally been the honor of my life over the last 6 years. To represent this community has been nothing but surreal. We might not agree all the time, but I think we get the job done, and it's obvious. You have a legislator here that has brought a lot of things home. Sometimes I can't lower taxes, but I can go get your money for you and bring it back to your house. And that's what I have done. We've delivered things at the zoo. We've delivered projects over in Rosemount. We delivered a police station's land in Rosemount. We've done a lot of things, and we did the park here in Apple Valley. We got a bridge going across. We've done a lot of work together. And that just makes me feel good, because regardless what happens in the election, I can go through there and say, hey, I helped with that. As far as what I also feel about where we're going here, I don't like to lay forth an agenda. My agenda will come after I win the election and talk to you. It's actually happening right now. In fact, I got people out knocking doors right now. And those people come back to me and they say, this is what this person said, this is what this person has said. We sample the community ongoing, and we'll continue that. We send out surveys. It's not just to Democrats, it's to all of you. And if you don't think you're heard, call me, talk to me. Anybody that's called my office is surprised, because I'll pick up the phone. The last part of this is, this election has been the first one we've had in this district that was not targeted. Targeted means that they come at you with some really bad stuff. And I was real happy about that until this morning. Unfortunately, my opponent brought it to a new level. And so I would have loved to have an election that is not like Washington right now. I would like to have an election about what the facts are and where we've been. And if you guys can decide, am I doing what's right for the community or what's wrong? And if you want to take me, if you think it's time for me to retire, I'll retire. You're the only one that's going to decide that, not me. So I'm hoping that you will give me another 2 years. We have a lot of work to do still. I will keep working on EMS, but I'll also do things for the community. Rosemount will have a new roundabout at its high school where they constantly have accidents. Those are the things I'm looking forward to. And we gotta protect our kids. We have to protect our kids. That's one of the biggest things I'm going to be working on. We have to protect our kids. Want to hear more about that? Go to my website. Please look me up, and thank you very much for your day.
Representative John Huot, Angeline Anderson, these are our candidates. Let's hear it for them.